General principles of motivational interviewing. Using these general principles of motivational interviewing will assist in the progress of the probationer or parolee. These steps presented can serve as a model on how to correctly implement a motivational interview. The general principles that probation officers should follow include expressing empathy, supporting self-efficacy, rolling with resistance, and developing discrepancies. Empathy is defined as the identification with and understanding of another's situation, feelings, and motives. As a probation officer attempting to improve the situation of the probationer, it would be considered extremely essential to gain a rapport with the probationer. If the probationer or parolee senses that the officer is empathetic, they will be more likely to open up during the interview process. In addition, this will allow the officer to identify the encounters that the probationer has experienced, allowing to use their history to correctly evaluate them. The next general principle refers to supporting the probationer's self-efficacy. In order for a change to genuinely occur, it is necessary for the probationer to believe that they can truly successfully change for the better. The probationer's realization of their own self-worth or self-effectiveness gives the officer a huge advantage in helping to execute change. In addition, the officer can facilitate change by having the probationer recognize the variety of ways to improve their conduct based on their own beliefs on how they themselves can improve. Also, instead of the officer being authoritative, the officer is more supportive to the probationer. Another fundamental principle of motivational interviewing is to roll with resistance. Clearly, the probationers will have some resistance to change, and it is imperative that the officers not fight this resistance. Instead, they should use that energy to lead the probationer to acknowledge resolutions to their own problems. Encouraging arguments with the probationer will not support positive change. Finally, probation officers can help the probationers realize any discrepancies between their current behaviors and their end goals. Officers should gradually and benevolently assist the probationers in recognizing how continuing in their habits will only slow progression to improving their situation. Motivation for change occurs when people perceive a discrepancy between where they are and where they want to be, as stated by Millers, Webben, De Clemente, and Rhetorique in 1992. What are some of the pitfalls of motivational interviewing? The intention is to increase the motivation of the probationer. Therefore, there are certain pitfalls to be aware of to avoid any adverse repercussions. These pitfalls include question-answer, confrontation denial, expert, label, premature focus, and blaming. The risk of question-answer is associated with the officer asking questions that have yes or no answers. The probationer does not get involved in the interview enough to think deeply about solutions to their situation. Questions in the motivational interview should be more open-ended questions. The risk of confrontation denial is directly correlated with the general principle of rolling with resistance. It is expected that the probationers will resist change, and it is essential that the officers do not engage in arguments. The expert risk refers to when an officer might administer suggestions without first following the probationer to figure out his or her own solutions. The problem with this pitfall is that the probationer might accept the officer's advice and may not be fully dedicated to changing. Labeling may be another issue that may hinder progression. Motivational interviewing theory suggests that labels should not be introduced during this process. Premature focus happens when the probation officer may attempt to focus on one particular issue too early on in the interview process. This may result in the focusing in on an insignificant or indirect problem. Many times, the probationer or parolee blames others for their current situation. Consequently, the probation officer convinces the probationer that it's their own fault for their situation. It is imperative that the probation officer not fall into this trap. Motivational interviewing follows a no-fault approach. The blame is irrelevant. What's important is finding resolution to the issues at hand.